Hey guys, Metal Driver here bringing you a video tutorial on how to make your own custom elite WCW Giant action figure. So the obvious things that you are going to need is the new Giant vs. Ric Flair Championship Showdown 2-pack right here, which is about $24.99 on Ringside Collectibles. And once it starts popping up at retail, it should be about $20. And then you're going to need your recently released Decade of Domination Elite Big Show, which is also retailed at $20. So you're looking to spend about $40-45 on this custom Elite Giant, which to me it's a pretty good deal. Because if you're an idiot like me who missed out on the original Elite Giant action figure, in order to get your hands on that, you're looking to spend about $50 to $80 loose, and then $120 to $200 mint on card. So I think spending about $45 is better than $50, $80, or even $150. Now the other things you're going to need are some simple tools. So you are going to need a hair dryer. So this is to heat up the body parts so you can take them off. Now if you don't have access to a hair dryer, you can use hot water. So you can either run hot water and put the figure underneath a faucet with running water, or you can put hot water in a microwave or boil it, heat it up, and then put that water in a cup or a bowl, and then put the figure in the water to help soften up the plastic to take the parts off. Now the other thing you're going to need is nail polish remover, and you need to make sure that it has acetone, because that is the key ingredient that you're going to need in order to help with the customization. So if you get nail polish remover that's acetone free, then it's not going to work, so you need that acetone with the nail polish remover. Then you're also going to need a simple Q-tip, so you're going to use this to dip this in the nail polish remover, so this is going to help with removing the paint. I would suggest getting several, because the paint will rub off onto the cotton piece right here, and then it's really not going to be usable if it's coated in the paint. So then you're going to need several of these so that way you have some fresh cotton pieces. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and take these figures out of their boxes so we can take a closer look and start popping off the heads. Alright, so here are the two figures out of the packaging. So first I'm going to take the Big Show head off. So I'm going to go ahead and use this hair dryer here and heat this head sculpt. And now to heat up the Giant's head. Alright, I got the Giant's head off, so now let's go ahead and pop that on the Elite Big Show body. Alright, so that actually looks really good. So I do like this head sculpt, it is brand new. It's got a really good likeness to Paul White, specifically a younger Paul White. So good sculpt work there, good paint, a little bit of extra stuff right there. But yeah, it looks just like him back in the mid-90s. The hair looks good, sculpted really well. There's his tattoo on the back of the neck, but we're not going to have to worry about that because no one's going to see that. But I really like this. Looks really good. Now, this is not accurate because Paul White, when he was in WCW as the Giant, he did not have these tattoos on his shoulders or this leg tattoo here, and then the tights did not go all the way down to the thighs here. As you can see on the basic body, they look like little trunks here. So in order to get those tattoos off, now, you could go the route of painting them. However, I'm not an expert painter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the paint here, and a little bit on the legs as well. So this is really more for a novice customizer, someone who's just getting into customizing. So typically the average collector is not going to be a great painter. So if you're not, I think this is a good alternative instead of painting over these parts. Now originally I was going to pop these legs off and just try to remove the paint all on the black parts here in the legs, but it does look like the top part of the leg here by the hips and crotch is molded in black, so that's going to be useless. So we're not going to be able to remove that black, so I'm just going to remove the black here by this cut. So in order to do that, we're going to need nail polish remover. As I mentioned earlier, it needs to be the one with acetone, because if it doesn't have acetone, then it's not going to remove the paint, because essentially what it does is it eats away at the plastic and removes the plastic surface. Now I know there are people who have not tried this out and who have voiced their concerns on forums and comment section online saying that they're worried that it's going to ruin the plastic. I have not had that experience, so long as you dip it there and just rub it, it should be fine. It's not going to damage the plastic unless you're dumping this whole thing on the figure, which we're not going to do. So long as you're using nice gentle strokes, you should be good. So you don't need to worry about the plastic. So it is removing the plastic here, which is essentially taking off the paint. Now the way we're able to do this is because the plastic underneath should still be skin tone. Typically Mattel, what they do with their body parts, they mold it in flesh tone. So we should be good on that end. And then up here, as I said, at this part of the leg. This is actually a black plastic, so we're not going to be able to remove that. So it won't be 100% accurate, but we'll see how it looks in the end. Alright, and I do have a towel here on my table so that I don't make a mess. Alright, so we're going to open this up. We are going to dip the Q-tip inside. As you can see, I only have half a bottle because I've been using this. So I'm going to just tilt this slightly. Then hopefully you can see the Q-tip is wet, so it does have the nail polish remover there. So I'm going to go ahead and close this up so it doesn't spill. Alright, so the first piece we're going to attack is this left shoulder. So I'm just going to go ahead and rub. You can see that the paint right there is rubbing off. And you can see the paint on the Q-tip. So in my opinion, this is a much easier method than just painting over the figure. Now you are going to have to grab a little more of the nail polish remover just to get the excess paint off. As you can see, this is rubbing right off the shoulder. Alright, so not bad. It looks like he was just wrestling in mud or something else in the bathroom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dip this again on this end here. I'm going to rub it some more. I'm probably going to press it down a little bit harder, see if that gets it off. Alright, now we're going at it a second time, and you can see that is looking much better. Rubbing the shoulder a second time. I am pressing a little bit harder, not too hard, but that looks much better than the first brush. And it looks like a little bit rubbed off here on the tricep, but that's okay. That should come right off. Alright, so first coat smeared it, second coat pretty much took most of it off. Now we're going to go ahead and use a second Q-tip for the third coat. And that should be pretty much non-existent after that. Alright, that shoulder looks pretty good. Can't really tell that there was anything there. Maybe just get a nice, good quick cleanup right there. Alright, so that looks pretty good in my opinion. Now to go onto the right shoulder and right bicep. So this is a larger piece, so it may take a few extra coats. Alright, so go ahead and rub over here on the tiger. So it's looking pretty messy, but that's okay. That's how it's going to look. Usually things in life are pretty messy at first, but once you persevere and push through, you see that light at the end of that tunnel, and then you begin making videos on YouTube, spouting off cheesy cliches. Alright, so not too bad. So I do have a little bit left here on this side, so I'm going to actually push down a little bit harder. And oh, look at that. It's coming right off. So hopefully this piece won't be as difficult as I originally thought. Yep, so we got a little more coming off. I can sense that the Q-tip is starting to dry out. Alright. So, better than what I thought it would be on the first try on that end. So, we got plenty more left. Alright, so here's the second coat on this side of the figure. It is definitely coming right off. It's still a bit messy. Alright, so that's how it looks after the second brush. So I did push down a little bit harder. As you can see, the figure is not ruined, so you don't need to worry about that. Again, unless you plan on dumping the whole thing on the figure, should be fine. So by pushing down a little bit harder, I was able to get more off. So I think with a third brush, it should be pretty good. So that would be about 3 on each side, so not too bad considering this one had more paint on the right side. Alright, so here's the third one. This should be the last needed stroke and brush on this arm. Might need to go over it one more time just to get any excess paint off. I haven't rotated my Q-tip yet, so that's pretty good in my opinion, meaning I've got still plenty of more to use in order to remove this extra paint here. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and rotate that. So the stuff here in this crevice may be a little tricky. For that, I may have to use another stroke, another brush, just to get some of that to leak in. Because, yeah, this is getting kind of dry. Alright. So, not too bad. Looks pretty good. I am going to get a fourth brush of paint. Try to just kind of get some of that to leak in there to remove that paint, so hopefully that'll work. It should. It will. I'll make it work. Alright, so I got this nice and soaked. So let's go ahead and push in here. That should do the trick. And it's a good thing I have this towel because I just spilled some nail polish remover on my leg. Thankfully, it did not get on any figures. So, didn't ruin any figures. Didn't ruin my leg. Don't have any paint on my leg, so I should be good. I don't think I'm going to melt anytime soon. And then, alright. So that looks pretty decent. Oh, there you go. So I just rotated this. Saw some extra paint there. Alright, so yeah, actually that's probably a good idea. Rotate the bicep here. Get some of that paint off. Especially in the sections. It's kind of hard to get at, so you can see right here. On camera, I'm getting a little bit more off. Alright, that looks pretty good. So it looks like maybe I got a little bit too much right here on this bicep piece, so hopefully that kind of hardens up a bit. It looks like kind of discolored it a bit. It's not that noticeable, not a big deal. Alright, now for the leg tattoo. So hopefully this one isn't as difficult or time consuming. Shouldn't be too difficult, in my opinion. Can rotate the boot a bit right here to get that paint off. And then you don't really need to worry about the acetone ruining the boot because the boot is made in a solid black plastic, so you're not going to ruin any paint there. You might soften the edge here. That's about it. Alright, so I'm pushing down a little bit harder. Getting some of that paint off right here. Oh, look at that. It's coming right off the leg, so that actually looks pretty good. So, most likely I'm just going to need a second brush here, and it should be good. Yep. So here with the second coat of nail polish remover, second brush. It's looking really good in my opinion. A little bit right there at the calf that I missed. Alright, it's got all that paint off, so that looks good. Now for the final piece here, the legs over by the thigh cuts. Again, originally I wanted to get this inner thigh piece by the hips, but that's molded in black plastic, so I'm not going to be able to do anything there. So we're going to go ahead and start with this. And this is probably going to be the piece that takes the longest, so that is the largest area of paint that we are removing. Alright, so you can see some of it's rubbing off. I'm gonna need another coat. Yeah, because this Q-tip is pretty dry. So as you can see, we're removing a pretty big chunk. But as you can also see on the Q-tip, I'm gonna need a lot more Q-tips in order to get this leg finished. Alright, I'm finding that it's easier to attack the bottom piece and then make your way to the top of the leg. Otherwise, if you're going top to bottom, you're going to smear that black paint all over and onto the parts that you've cleaned up. So as you can see, I'm starting to smear this. So it's smearing instead of cleaning. I'm about 3 coats in already. Alright, so that took a bit. I think I had to use about 8, maybe closer to 10 coats for that leg. So, it's not exactly accurate as you can see with the basic. What would have been nice is to remove this part here as well, so that would have been closer to correct accuracy of the singlet. But now I'm going to go ahead and try this thigh part, and then we should hopefully be done. Alright, so attacking it this way, by just focusing on one little section, it looks like I'm getting more of the paint off the figure doing it this way. So maybe I might try that method on the rest of the leg, but now I'm kind of smearing it a little. We go ahead and try that. Maybe that might be a little easier. So that's 1 coat so far. So now I'm going to use coat number 2. We have focus on this part right here. We go from the bottom, work my way to the top. I get this part here. Okay, so that doesn't look too bad. I've got a little bit left, so let's try to get this part off. And hey, that doesn't look too bad. It's only when the Q-tip here starts getting more of the paint that it starts to smear. So I'm going to try that method, see if maybe it takes less coats and maybe less time. Alright, so we got most of it off. Now we just have to do some quick cleanup. Hopefully this doesn't take too long. It does seem like I'm using the same amount of coats so far. However, it does seem simpler to do it this way, because then I'm not smearing as much. Alright, so that should be pretty much it. So here is an Elite custom WCW Giant figure. Here's the basic body as a reference. So again, this leg part here by the hips, the black tights aren't supposed to be there. So it'd be 100% accurate if that was removed, but I can't just because that is black plastic. Now, if you are pretty good at painting, or if you want to paint that part to make it more accurate, then you can. Otherwise, I think this is pretty good looking. I think this is pretty accurate. It's not 100%, but it is close enough, and considering I only had to spend $45 at most on this entire set in order to make this custom, I think it looks pretty good. Not only that, we get an updated Paul White head from WCW. You get the interchangeable hands from the Big Show figure. So I think this is a pretty good alternative. So hopefully this video was helpful. This gave you an idea on how to make your own custom WCW Giant. If you're new to the channel, I do review WWE Elite and AEW Unrivaled figures. Follow me on social medias and keep up to date with all my wrestling figure photography. And I'll see you next time.